Hi, everyone. I co-host today with our executive producer of our mental health films, Chaz Shearer, and our guest today is a longtime collaborator and friend of Chaz, Tony Sands. He's a senior producer at Family Theater Productions and handles the feature film slate. For Family Theater, he has served as producer, writer, director on films such as Finding Mary, You Will See, Carrying On, Family Dinner, 40 Hours. He was employed at Cinesite, where he worked on such films as Space Jam, Titanic, Dr. Dolittle, and Sphere. His resume is long, and I'm so excited for him to come on and talk about a film that even in the time of the pandemic, they were able to get this movie, Prey, in theaters. We're going to talk about that film and the hard work that his team has put into getting this movie out there and what a time that we need it. So please welcome Tony Sands on Mental Health News Radio.
I wanna try and take in all the highs, embrace them for more than a moment's time. I want you, please don't move when I push you away. I know I contradict myself some days, but will you ride the lows with me?
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I am your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Our goal is to help discussions about mental health be a regular part of your daily life, no different than discussions about physical health. Mental illness can be a topic of discussion under the umbrella of mental health, along with so many other topics. This show is the original program on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com. Our network of shows are played in over 180 countries and cover more topics under that umbrella than you can possibly imagine. We were talking about mental health long before it became cool and popular to talk about, and thank goodness it has become so popular. We have incredible guests, advocates, patients, experts, people. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy our intro music, a song named Lows, written by Aubrey Toon. You can find her music at www.aubreytoone.com.
That night when I started praying, I cried, will you ride the lows with me? Will you ride the lows with me? When I'm down, my vision gets blurry.
Hi, listeners. I have a great guest on today and also my trusty sidekick for all shows we do from the entertainment industry perspective. Chaz, thank you so much for coming on the show. My listeners know you well by now.
Thanks for having me, Kristin. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love your listeners. Oh, yes.
And our
Thanks,
guest,
everyone.
our guest you just heard about, Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So they know a little bit about you, but what they don't know is that you are one of the rare organizations putting a movie out into theaters in October of 2020.
We're crazy that way. It's true.
I mean, if people don't get how just unbelievable that is, I'm telling you, it is unbelievable. I mean, we're going to get into more of that, but first, let's talk about this film and what it's about.
Excellent. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it. On the surface of the story is what we jokingly call the most famous person you've never heard of, and that's Father Patrick Peyton. He is a media pioneer. He is a celebrity and connector from the golden era of Hollywood, and he's also, though, a Catholic priest who is up for sainthood. In addition to that, though, he also is a very poor Irish immigrant who came to this country with nothing and in very unexpected ways that changed the world. So the nutshell is that Father Peyton, or Patrick Peyton, came to America from a very poor family, a farming family back in the early 1900s, came with his brother, and he had a very spiritual home. They always used to pray. In fact, the joke was they had more prayer than food. They prayed together every night as a family, but it kept them together However, then they had to go seek a way to make a living and actually eat elsewhere. He came to America expecting to become a millionaire, and instead found a calling, and actually then joined a seminary and became a Catholic priest, only to get very ill, and was on his deathbed. He ended up having a miraculous healing from that, and in turn then really wanted to reach out to help people and help families through prayer. And what was revolutionary about him is he used media to do it. And he became a huge mover and shaker in radio and eventually television. And if you've ever heard of the phrase, the family that prays together stays together, he actually invented that phrase and made it popular around the world.
I had no idea. Wow.
Yes. If you ever kind of wonder where that came from, that's the source of it. And in addition, he, for a brief time, held the Guinness Book of World Records record for seeing more people face to face than anyone in history. He did these very powerful prayer rallies, which gained millions of people wherever they happen throughout the world. In fact, one of his rallies is still the fifth largest event ever to happen in San Francisco, with 500,000 people in attendance at Golden Gate Park. And I'm just touching the surface of all the things that he did, but that's what the story is about. Now, under the surface, I do want to let you know there's a wider story here about the power of perseverance, faith, and prayer, and about really how anyone can sort of achieve great things with that kind of faith and dedication. And that doesn't rely on what religion you are or what your background is. I think the story is universal from that element.
Absolutely. Was the filmed part of it then? Was that done obviously before it was finished and wrapped before COVID hit?
It was, yeah. And as typical as with Hollywood, things you're seeing now will usually have been shot sometimes months or years before they actually see a theater. Right. So that can definitely happen, and this is no exception in this situation. We actually had this. Well, one thing that was a blessing for us is that because Father Peyton was a media pioneer, we literally had thousands of hours of media on him. Voice recordings, film recordings, TV spots, the whole deal. And he was there, right, really from when radio was mass media all the way to when TV was launched, all the way to, when movies were the dominant form of entertainment. And then he died in 92, not spoiler alert, he died in 92. But he was there to also see kind of the birth of the web. So that kind of helped us out a lot to have all that footage. We did want to shoot some things that made things very fresh and very active, and then to that degree, then we're able to film some things both here in the United States and overseas. But that wrapped, I'll be honest with you, like really late 2018. Maybe the last thing we shot was probably 2019. So we were well in advance of the pandemic.
Well, that's good. Because the fact that you can even get it out, I mean, I'm learning already, and Chaz has certainly helped me navigate the waters of this particular industry. But, you could be working on something and you've forgotten about it because it's been so long, and people have already said, oh yeah, that'll never happen. And then boom, it's been greenlit.
Oh, so true. So true. Yeah,
that's always happens that way.
Very much.
I can't even tell you how many people have done, filmed things, and I know now not to get all pushy, and I've got plenty of other things to do too, but people that really hang their hat on that. Like I just got a text this morning. When are you going to put out the show that we did about the you wanted that to be a docuseries about racism, and I'm like, listen, this is how the industry is. Even if you don't believe it, that is how it is. And add a pandemic on top of it.
Just toss that into the mix.
Yeah.
Just throw that into the zone. Oh, it literally has been. Go ahead, Chaz.
No, Tony, I was going to ask you, where did you do principal photography? Where did they shoot the film, and then where did you go back for reshoots? Is that where you filmed over here in the U.S. again, or Let us know.
It is. So we actually did a lot of our filming here in Los Angeles because he actually is a Hollywood fixture. The company and ministry that he founded, Family Theater Productions, which has been around now for just shy of 80 years, which is dinosaur old by terms of Hollywood, is actually on Sunset Boulevard, right around the corner from the Walk of Fame and the theater where they hold the Oscars every year.
That's right.
So there's a lot of filming that was done here in LA, but then there's also stuff that was done back in New York and in Massachusetts, where the order of priests that he comes from was stationed. There's also some filming done at Notre Dame because that Holy Cross, which is the group that he belongs to, that's they're like the Franciscans in the church, where they kind of have a special mission within the church itself. They actually founded Notre Dame. So we did some filming back there, and then we actually did some filming in Ireland. And we did some pickups, kind of, to be honest with you, some pickups all around the world because his ministry eventually became international, and he visited, countries all the way from the Philippines to Italy, and extensive travel in South America.
Amazing.
So so then what we did wrap things here in Los Angeles, and we were able to capture that kind of footage. By the grace of God, kind of everywhere throughout the world. Again, though, we would have a huge blessing of just having this gigantic archive, so we could pull stuff that that was literally from the invention of film, and start really using that to sort of capture and tell the story. That being the case, so it's tricky. We finished this thing, like I said, pretty much back in 2019, and here it is. We're well towards the end of 2020, and it's just coming out now.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a sense of how tough things are in general with the industry. Like, just nothing happens fast, or if it does, it's a big wait and then it goes all in one rush. And just again, things go even at a weirder pace when you're in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yeah,
right.
Where doesn't even cover it, right, Chaz?
That's right. I mean, the funniest part about Hollywood, which in turn we love, but it's the phrase "hurry up and wait." It's like, come on, we're ready for you, and then it's years later, and that was the first phrase I remember on a film set as soon as I moved out to LA, and I'm like I'm always an early bird, right? So I got on set about 2 hours early for a television series. And then they said, okay, time to get in makeup, time to get in wardrobe, wardrobe and makeup. And then, I went back to the trailer, and I'm sitting in there and sitting in there and sitting in there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. And then, they're like, all right, we need Chaz, on the radio. We need Chaz, stat, come on. We need Chaz, 10-4, and I'm like, okay, great. We rushed on the set, and I stood there for another 4 or 5 hours until I was used. It's the most amazing. It's just the phrase of Hollywood. And people love to rush things, and they think that things need to be done on their time. And then it's like, having the patience and having that virtue is fantastic when you can have it. I love when I came to visit you the first time at Family Theater, and I'm driving up Sunset, and I saw the old Nick Studios across the street, which aren't there anymore, and the theater. And, it was was it iCarly was going on at that time, or not iCarly? It was maybe it was iCarly was happening at that time. And meeting you and seeing, Father Patrick and Father Peyton's pictures on the walls with everyone he spoke to, or a lot of people that he had on his radio show, and just hearing the story from you was fantastic. And I'm so glad and excited that you guys were able to make it into this film project, and I hope that it's one of the only films out in the theaters that's going to be new. That's correct, right?
Correct. No, actually, it's so funny. We're going head to head with the I can't remember, it's 20th or 25th anniversary of Hocus Pocus.
Yes. Oh, the Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the fact that you're able to even get it out. But what theaters is it going to be playing in, and where?
If you want to find the theater that's nearest to you, definitely go ahead to Pray the Film, all is one word, praythefilm.com. And it says get tickets. On the very first page you open up, and it'll show you theaters around the country where it's playing. Right now, if you're in Los Angeles, sadly, LA is not open with movie theaters because of, but you can go to Orange County, and it's playing at the Irvine Spectrum down there. So it's a little about maybe an hour or two.
That's a nice theater. I think it has the reclining chairs too, seats. Yeah, I think so.
It does. And it was a bit of a miracle because just because nothing can be easy. We were booking theaters, and we were doing it on a sort of individual basis just because of this. In these times, you have to be really selective. Every theater you open in, there's a cost. And the other thing too is for theaters is a big deal about how well your film does in opening weekend. Right. Note to all listeners: if you want a movie to stay, or if you ever want a producer or a studio to keep making a certain kind of movie, please see it in the opening weekend. It's the thing that matters the most. If you watch in the opening weekend and has a good opening weekend, one, it'll last and it'll stay for the next weekend and beyond. And two, it tells people that that this movie is the kind of thing people want to see. People are like, oh, I'll catch it sometime. Right. That's dangerous. So, anywho, this is we want to be carefully selective about this. So it's opening in the Irvine Spectrum. We have theaters right now in Texas. We have some in Massachusetts. We have a handful up and down the East Coast, but we're in 45 theaters right now around the country. And of course, depending on how things do, we'll expand from there. Part of that too is because of the way theaters are treating. Why this is a miracle, actually, though, is we were in more theaters. But folks, if you're following the entertainment industry news, one of the largest theater chains, AMC, is not fully open. Right. And the second thing is the second largest theater chain, which is one that we were working with, just decided to shut all its locations in the U.S. and the U.K.
Yeah.
So that was that. Regal then. Yes.
Regal. And we actually had our movie with Regal Theaters as one of the chains we were going with. And we were booked, we were loaded, we were ready to go. In fact, we had a conversation with them on Friday, and then found out over the weekend that the rumor was they weren't going to have their doors open come this week, and it was confirmed on Monday.
Oh my gosh!
And so, yeah. So just so you know, now by grace, they are keeping a handful of flagship theaters open, and one of them is the Irvine Spectrum. So we're very grateful to Regal to keeping the Spectrum open, because otherwise we probably wouldn't have anything even near Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. We do have something in San Diego, if you're near that neck of the woods. And again, if you're interested, by all means, you can go to praythefilm.com and see if there's a theater near you. By the way, there's also a means on that website to send a request and say, hey, I think I can get an audience to a theater. Could you possibly get a theater in my neck of the woods?
How many people would you need to commit to showing up?
Ideally, what we'd say is, that you're looking at having people come throughout the weekend. Mm-hmm. So let's say if you have a club or a parish or a group. I mean, I will tell you right now, if you buy 25 tickets, a theater is selling out. Mm. That will sell out a full theater. However, we're looking for more than just one showtime to be sold. So there will be a way to actually just book a single, what they call four-wall, or buy out a theater if you want to just have that one group. But if you think, I have folks who would come all throughout the weekend, then let us know. And if you thought you'd have maybe, let's say, overall a couple hundred people show up over the course of one weekend, that's more than enough these days. Normally speaking, one theater, one screen, and one Cineplex would hold 150 to 200 people. But these days, if you have 25 people in one theater, they pretty much consider it sold out.
And that is a whole interesting shift too. That was happening long before COVID. It was going in that direction, correct?
Correct. Yeah. They, of course, trying to get people into movie theaters, especially, during the week. And that's where you'd see things like Phasm events or the type of specialized screenings happening during the weekdays, because they just wanted to get people to show up to movie theaters. But COVID has made it so that most theaters are trying to abide by very strict safety guidelines, and among those is making sure people can't sit too close to each other, and are properly distanced from each other. So you might have a 200 seat auditorium, and they will only sell out a quarter of it in order to meet the guidelines for right now. Now that may change, hopefully as numbers get better and
vaccine
techniques. Vaccine. Well, if the vaccine comes along, everyone is just so hopeful.
Right.
So hopeful for that, because that would be a way of kind of re-embracing somewhat of a normal kind of life. But even when safety measures get better, like better air conditioning systems, you know what I mean? Love it or hate it when you're indoors if everyone wears masks. Those kind of things can make a difference whether a theater feels that they can meet the state guidelines or the county guidelines to reopen.
Right. I can guarantee you that the great ones, that I've gone to, of course, they are, have the funding to be able to put better ventilation systems in. But the one I went to in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, where a rat ran across my shoe, that theater probably isn't going to be able to sustain.
Maybe not. I'm saying. Just put it out there.
So in terms of, I want to talk to you just a little bit about, streaming platforms, because that is obviously where things go. And so many movies have just gone straight to streaming. Even with that happening, what we saw pre-COVID was this movie coming, because they followed what came out in the theater. It was a rare thing, or not totally rare, but rarer to have it just go, straight to streaming, unless it was filmed for that.
Right.
But now, there are movies that were made for the theater, and they are cutting deals to, okay, well, we can't get it in the theater. We can't wait. We've got to start making revenue on this now. Let's go straight to streaming. So, you've been in this industry for a long time. How do you feel about the way that that's moving, and how do you see this film playing in that arena?
For us, very well. I mean, so to answer the second question I'll answer the first question first. There's just nothing like seeing a movie in a movie theater.
Absolutely.
Be able to sit down in the dark, have your attention, on this gigantic screen with an awesome sound system. It just completely and totally engages all your senses, and you're in for the ride. I'm a fan of everything from IMAX to 3D. I know not everybody is.
I love it all.
The more the more we can be, I can be, or a viewer can be in the story, I think the better. And you really do get a whole other experience. And I have to say too, one of the sort of sad things is because of the cost of movies, certain kinds of movies are harder to make, like say, for example, dramas and comedies, because there is a question of, well, why don't I just wait to watch this on Netflix or some other streaming platform? But let's be honest, especially in like a comedy, there's nothing like having people laughing around you. Nothing like hearing people just really crack up at something, or in a horror movie. I remember one time this person just like screamed bloody murder at one scene, and I think they made that one of the best horror experiences ever.
There's the energy of being around other people and feeling the foreboding and the terror, and then the elation, or when it's a movie like this one that's going to uplift so many people, which we really need that right now. So that's why you should go see it. But when you're having that shared experience, it's why they say the endorphins that come off of people from sporting events, from going to movies and seeing movies in theaters, is, everyone's blood pressure goes down, and everyone got a big mental health feel good pill, that came naturally by being in communion with other people.
Yeah, and it totally makes sense. So everyone's sort of like, in the same vibe, and it has the same sort of connection. And it does, that's one thing that's also great about it too, is it sort of, in a way, slightly forces you to detach from all the things that are normally sort of giving you anxiety by distracting you, and lets you just be in the moment, which is awesome.
Yeah, we need
Now
that.
It's awesome. Just having that feeling. It allows you to really detach from all the little things that are distracting you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And let you just be in the moment and have that feeling.
I thought about that with some friends of mine that are in different soap operas in different countries even, but one of them that's filming, they're filming now, and they're just using all these safety precautions. And yeah, it's not so great that you can't see the handsome dude and the beautiful woman come together for a passionate kiss. You know that that's their spouse in a wig, but I like the fact that they're trying. And one of the decisions that I've heard made from my friends that are actors in these things, or, on set, part of the crew, they don't want to film people in masks. They don't want to do that. Not because they don't believe in it. My God, they are, the minute that they finish a scene, that mask is on and everything. This is not about a mask or no mask thing. It's just, they want people to be taken away from. They want them to have what entertainment is there for, take you away from the experience that you're living with every day. So I thought that was a wonderful way to remind people that's what entertainment is for. It's to lift you out of what your regular life is.
Yes, it is. It's an adventure. It sucks you in. So we want more and more and more, and we want that in real life, but we just can't get there.
No, it's true. That's kind of the magic of a story, being able to sweep you up. It's part of the reason too, to be honest with you, why I think as much as game shows and reality shows are fun, and they have their own type of escapism. They're just we see a story catch fire, and how people really just react to it. Everything from Harry Potter to Game of Thrones to Star Wars, you name it. Just there's nothing that, or the Marvel universe. You see people just react to it around the globe because that story gets people in. And that's also part of the thing too about the mask situation with actors. You just lose so much connection, because what you connect with is the emotions. No matter how cool a dinosaur is, or how cool the spaceship or the lightsaber battle is, what you're really looking at the end of the day are the reactions of the characters, to what's going on. And, you just lose so much of that when half the face is covered by a mask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, Darth Vader's awesome, but he's not very emotive. You know what I mean?
Right. So true.
Yeah, the twist there too. But that being the situation, kind of getting back to an earlier question you had, just because though of safety precautions and whatnot, and all the concerns, there has been a ton of media that's gone to streaming, and there's been a play to put a movement to put more and more high budget content on these different platforms,
right.
And that's not where you can see certain things. That way. But honestly speaking, right now it's a method, or it's a strategy of desperation.
Yeah.
Every movie is like a mini business. You pitch it, you do a plan for it, you budget it, literally. You get all the pieces in play. It has its employees and the whole deal, and then you fund it and you make it. And so you make a product. It just happens to be either basically now these days on hard drives, or in certain cases on film reels, and then you've got to sell it. And the problem is it's kind of like a car dealership, or a warehouse, or like a grocery store or any place like that, having product on the shelves. It does the company no good for it to sit there, especially sit there too long. It's got to move off the shelves at some point. In the same way, some stuff doesn't last forever. So, and there's other reasons where it could be problematic to wait too long. So in some cases too, that you might fund a movie using loans, and loans come due.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for all these considerations, a lot of times in these cases, the studios and the filmmakers are like, look, we just got to get these movies out to an audience so they can see them. And that's where all this stuff becomes very difficult, because on one hand, it's great to put a movie on Netflix to get eyeballs, but it's terrible for it can be very difficult on business, because the Netflix may pay you only a certain flat rate for that film, and who knows if it's enough to cover the cost of the movie.
Right.
And sometimes a place like Netflix or Amazon might also do what they call revenue share, where they will pay you for the number of times the film is watched. But it really depends on how well you negotiate that deal, and kind of, to be honest with you, who you are in the industry as to what kind of revenue you'll see off of those eyeballs, those viewers. And it can also determine how long they actually viewed the film. Did they see the whole thing? Did they watch 15 minutes and turn it off? Those things can all affect your revenue. And so the trick is that the studios and other filmmakers are realizing, well, we've got to get our product into the market. We have to get our films in front of audiences. And earning some money. But what's the way to do that? And here's where it gets tricky. If a movie costs, $100, $150, $200 million to make,
Yeah.
a situation with something like a Tenet or a Mulan or a James Bond, well, can you make that by just putting that online? And so that's where you see these premium costs.
Right.
They realize that paying $3.99 to rent this off of Amazon isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? Or just even putting this on Netflix or Disney Plus isn't enough. There has to be other revenue generated to cover that massive, massive cost. Just to give some inside baseball here, or some inside or behind the curtain look. By and large, when a movie is in the theaters, you actually get to keep half the box office receipt, sometimes a little bit less, and the movie house itself keeps the other half. And you're like, wow, that's kind of rough. It's a pretty big split. However, back in the day, in the movie houses, if you did a wide release, you could get, hundreds of thousands of people to show up to your movie.
Right.
And that turned into millions and millions of dollars. Really hundreds of millions of dollars in box office. So even if you have to split it, it's still well worth the while. However, now we're in a very new phase where sometimes a movie theater can only have 25 to 30 to 40 people per screen, period. So even if the movie was to quote unquote sell out, you see how much that reduces what the return on investment is. So on one hand, movies are desperate for movie makers. Studios are desperate for movie theaters to reopen at maximum capacity, to be able to generate the kind of money that's necessary to pay for the budgets of these huge, awesome, fun blockbuster films. On the other hand, too, they know it's a struggle right now, and so sometimes they've taken this strategy of, what we'll do is just forego the movie screen in the theater, or do a limited release in theaters, but then on the other hand, make it available at a premium price.
Meaning your subscription to Netflix, not some of the streaming platforms that are free with commercials. We're talking about, like what Ridley Scott's done with his new series, Raised by Wolves, where you can only see this on HBO Max, which is premium content, and you have to pay for a separate subscription for that. So yeah, there's so many ways that the industry is just completely changing, and it was already changing, and then COVID hit. It's like it forced what was inevitable, but it forced it in a way where people were like, I'm not ready for this.
Right. No, exactly right. But it's been a mixed bag. It's been a very mixed bag. I think in all honesty, while things like Trolls did better than they had hoped it would do, it's still not the same as if it had been released in theaters, domestically and internationally. And I think Mulan's been a struggle. It's done decently well. There was, I think something like 9 million downloads at $30 a download. But on the other hand, that's people who actually also bought Disney, purchased Disney Plus. But even still doing the math on that, it's good, but these are not necessarily wonderful numbers. So this is still very much something in progress.
Right, new territory. Yeah.
Right, very much so. And of course, everyone has their bets. Half the people are betting, this is going to kill movies. Maybe not completely, but the audience is all going to want to stay at home, and only kind of like aficionados or the hardcore film buffs are going to want to go back and pay money for a movie theater. And other people are like, no, as soon as people can feel safe about going to movies again, they certainly will. And so, in a way, time will tell. Personally speaking, I don't know if you're like me, or if you've seen folks around you. There's definitely a worry and a concern about being safe, but I know more and more people are getting very antsy to get out and do something outside of their home.
Agreed. I mean, I have been a movie. That is how I escaped a lot of stuff in my childhood, was movies. So I miss, Sunday, or definitely not on a Friday night, because then it's a little too wild for me. I'm old enough now. I'm like, no, not Fridays, but going on a Saturday afternoon or going to a matinee on a Sunday. I mean, and then sitting in the theater. I miss all of that. I miss it all. I missed drive-in theaters too, but we'll see what happens with that, with that industry.
Well, drive-ins have made a huge comeback.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, they are booming again. I went to the drive-in for the first time. I actually had a movie released earlier this year, and as a ironic twist of fate, there's a low-budget horror film, but it became the #1 box office movie in America for 5 weeks in a row.
What was the name of the movie?
Wow. Called Followed.
Okay.
And Followed. It's a fun little what they call found footage, kind of like in the style of Blair Witch, sort of a found footage ghost story.
Was that the one that had Kathy Lee Gifford's daughter in it?
That one was actually done a few years back, and that's a really awesome, fun film called 40 Hours.
Okay.
It was released on television. This one's a little bit different, and it's actually produced by a company called Viscape, but I lent them a hand in some assistance in producing it. But in a nutshell, that when it came out in theaters, in drive-ins, it came out in drive-ins. And so I went to a drive-in for the first time in probably 30 years. So I mean, literally, I was like, I was a little kid. The last time I was at a drive-in, I remember sitting on a lawn chair on the top of our van, to watch one of these movies. And now I'm seeing it again, much later in life. And it was definitely a trip. But the drive-ins are doing great business these days. We see people feel safe in going to them, but they still want that big screen, popcorn and hot dog experience.
Absolutely.
So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that theatrical films are still alive and well. But things have changed. And yes, some part of it will never go back to the way it quite was, but we'll see, what all does shake out. Now for us and for Prey, the movie we have releasing now is called Prey, the story of Patrick Peyton. We are very confident about our digital release on that one. So we came out in theaters by agreement. We have to have it be exclusively in theaters for a certain amount of time. And that's part of the reason why you see some places struggling with releasing things in theaters, is because they're not sure they want to miss the audience is staying at home by releasing in a movie theater where they're not sure who will show up.
Right.
Because there's an agreement for most of us when we release in theaters, you have to leave your movie in the theater exclusively for a certain window of time. And of course, that drives up interest and demand. It's a great way to see a movie, of course, too, but it's difficult these days. However, we know that, there's a very strong, obviously, message of faith in this movie. There's also a very strong element that's Catholic in this movie. And let's be honest, there's a handful, I would say, or more, of older people and people who have kids in the Catholic Church, in the faith audience, and they don't necessarily want to run out to a movie theater. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there can be some concern about their exposure. And so because of that, we do know that we have a lot of people who are waiting to see this thing when it comes available online, and we're strategizing that release right now. But we thought that the scope of the film would play so nicely on a big screen. We felt that people would want to get, who were interested, would want to get out of their houses and do something that was uplifting and positive for a while. And so we thought it was worth the gamble to put the film in theaters. And that was really our motivation behind it, was to do that and to also use this as a means to raise the awareness of the film. It's such a strong message about coming together with those that you love, whether it's your actual family or the family that you found through friends and others, or whatever family it is that you've made, and spending some time connecting with each other and with God or with, however you see your higher power, but it's case with, with God, with Christ, and spending time with, in that matter every day, and how doing that can really heal your heart and change your life.
And that is the message everybody needs right now. I mean, all over the globe. That is what people are needing. So when I found out about this film, I thought, oh my gosh, we have to support this because, we're a mental health organization. And so I don't associate the network as one religion or another, because there's everybody, and there are people that aren't religious at all that are involved. However, that need for community, that need for connection, that's here like it never has been. So, I encourage anyone that even, that's, I'm not going to go see a quote unquote religious film. Forget that. It's also a success story. And, what do we need right now? We need uplifting content.
And no, I mean, some of our champions are Buddhist. We had some reviewers, who are really behind the film, and they're like, there are two different actually sects of Buddhism, and they loved it. I know I had one company that's approached us recently about the film, very straight up. They're like, this is, we don't do faith, but this is so inspirational. We see this reaching a much larger audience, and that was our thing. Is that there is a power in hope. There's a power, in belief, and there's a power in getting quiet, and reaching out to something bigger, and for me, that's God. For Father Peyton, clearly, it was through the Holy Family, Mary, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, reaching out, to God, to Christ, but to just center yourself with your family. And if you don't have your family, right there in your house, a family that you can call, or someone that you connect with or can trust in, and getting quiet with them and reaching out to something bigger and better, and letting that and having that help you guide your life to something that is positive.
Fantastic. What a perfect way to close the show. Tony, can you tell our listeners again the website for the movie and also for Family Theater Productions?
Absolutely. So the movie is Pray, P-R-A-Y, thefilm.com. So all together, praythefilm.com. And you can find showtimes there, and ways to find out more about the movie and share about the movie, and also ways to actually, again, like I said, request us to see if we can put it in the theater near you. And the other thing would be then for our larger website, for our larger company, Family Theater Productions, which is at familytheater.org. So remember, one's .com, the other one's .org. And there, not only do we have our other projects, which we have everything about, from movies about faith to movies about dating and about other inspirational, powerful stories, but we also have other resources for prayer and for family unity. So we definitely would encourage you to come, whatever your faith background is come check us out.
Fantastic. Chaz, thank you so much for co-hosting with me.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Kristin. It was a pleasure and a lot of fun getting to talk to you and Tony together. So thanks again.
Absolutely. And Tony, thank you again. And listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health News Radio. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to Proze, PROZE.com, and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun. Snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstrespondermentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissisticabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
But will you ride the low, low, lows with me? Will you ride the low, low, lows with me?
One thing you can always count on at Mental Health News Radio Network and my show is that there will always be dogs around. Why? They are natural healers, excellent for your mental health. The original therapy dog Miles has something to say in just a moment. For now, please check out all of our amazing shows at mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com and all your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, I'm Kristin Sananta-Walker, and thank you for listening.
Me tonight, and I can ride the low, low, lows with me. I can ride the low, low, lows with me. Till my vision clears up perfectly. I can ride the low, low, lows with me.
Good boy.